Burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live. It's going down, baby. Burning through ashes, trying to make common sense.
Burn live, y'all. Burn live, y'all. Burning through conversations, trying to ash out some common sense. Welcome to the Burn Live Show. I am your host, Capiche. This is my channel. Monday through Saturday, I got some extreme shows going on. Monday through Fridays. At night, I have Good Night Capiche. It's a very good show. These are shows that I've been waiting so long to present to you and give you my input, my intake, um my insight on things that I feel that are important to me. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're gonna do on this channel. I have a lot of other different channels coming. Not other different channels coming, different programs to this channel coming. I hope y'all appreciate them, anticipate them, get ready for them. And with that, without a further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into that. Today is my politic day. And I'm going to start off with a court case that everybody is basically covering. Are you going to hear some type of story sooner or later from the Julio Fulio murder case of some guy that got rapper who got killed, his ops ran up on him and stuff like that. Now, I understand Thursday we do have court cases and stuff like that. I just want to go over this because this is important. This is breaking news for everybody out there. So I do want to go over it first and foremost. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this.
Monday, the jury has reached a verdict, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh. Okay.
This is the converted pretender. You know what? To be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all, when I want to cover it, but I'm not gonna lie, I want to cover it like this because it was just a short, quick. Yeah, I'm gonna do it like this. But I think this is a very good story and how it be. Daniels.
These things like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes, with my experience, not only just in classification, but as a former warden and even as a jail administrator. He's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity, and we will put him out there to work because we do have an aging prison population, jail administration. We have that. So we put these young individuals to work and get some sweat equity out of them since they are young and actually can do the work.
And we talk about life without parole and death row, but for our jurors' education in Florida, what does a life sentence without parole mean?
A life sentence in the Florida Department of Corrections means from the minute they're brought in, they're assigned an inmate number. He will be assigned an inmate number, and when he dies and leaves in a body bag, he will still have that inmate number. An inmate serving life will never, ever get out. There is no parole in the state of Florida, and they're not ever allowed outside the razor wire and the fence of a secured facility.
So the only way that an inmate serving life without parole would leave is when they die by natural causes.
Yo, just take me out, bro. It's heartbreaking. Put their lives on the line and risk everything for nothing. For nothing. They sliding on their ops. In this guy's case, a lot of people may not be familiar. I think the guy's name was Julio Fulio. I'm not sure if he was a rapper or just another popular figure, but I think that he was a rapper. And his ops, his opposition or his enemies slid on him, got caught, facing the death penalty in Florida. They petitioned for this guy to ultimately get life in jail. And his entire day, right, with this guy who was a former warden, former person that worked in the prisons and all of this stuff, consultant now, basically said was that they worked 60 hours a week, minimal. And in order for them to even be able to have some kind of dignity or not have every single privilege removed and be disciplined, you have to suffer, you have to work. And now you're basically relegated to making license plates or whatever it is that you are relegated to for the rest of your life. Young 20, 21, 18, 19-year-olds are now going to be in the prison system for the rest of their natural life. And I don't feel sorry for them because they take lives. If you take a life, your life ultimately got to be taken. For me, this is death, right? There's no point in living at this point outside of making amends to the family and, you know, finding some kind of solace and being saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, giving your life over to God, and just take me out. There's no point in living if I have to live the rest of my 60, 70, 50 years, if you live to be that long, if you're not taken out in prison, if you're not.
So that was the sentence real quick. This is, I was just trying to give y'all a little bit more background. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Defended and then the victim, Julio's prosecutor's defendant. This is the end. So this guy right here in the green and white ran up on this guy right here. There was a rapper inside the plot killing Julio. Yeah, I wish there was somebody to give out a quick summary, but that's what's going on. This was a big case. Julio Filio killed and sentenced in his life behind bars. That was big, y'all. And I wanted to cover real quick, give y'all a little prime example of what's going on. Shout out to Anton Daniels and to, you know what I'm saying, really just lump sum that up real fast. Also, I mean, everybody's basically kind of covering it right now at the moment, but we did. Now, let's get back over into some what we're here for, and that's the politics day of the day. Starting off with CNN, Black voices are being silenced in the political realm. Black voices are being silenced. So I really want to go over this too, give you my opinion, or do I believe that Black voices, because I do got a question, which I know is not going to be answered, but yet again, I'm going to go over this question with you guys. And without a further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it.
Good evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Tonight, it's spreading. A battle over redistricting that is playing out at the Supreme Court as Republicans and Democrats try to gain an edge in November's midterm elections. Today, the court's conservative majority cleared the way for Alabama to use a new congressional map that would eliminate a donation in its order, which tosses out a lower court decision that blocked the use of that 2023 map. But Justice Sonia Sotomayor joined the court's other two liberals and said that the order was inappropriate and that it will cause confusion as voters head into the polls in the next week's election. The decision hands yet another victory to Republicans just days after Virginia's Supreme Court struck down a measure that would have allowed Democrats to redraw congressional maps in their favor. Virginia Democrats are now asking the Supreme Court to reinstate that map. That seems like a bit of a Hail Mary pass there on the part of Virginia Democrats. But the broader issue is that, especially when you look at what's happening in Alabama, there's already voting underway in that state. They are planning to toss out that map, go with a new map that favors Republicans, eliminates a district. And then you have the President Trump, sending a message to South Carolina, your home state, Bakari, saying the South Carolina State Senate has a big vote tomorrow on redistricting. He says, Republicans, be bold and courageous, just like the Republicans of the great state of Tennessee were last week. Move the U.S. House primaries to August. Leave the rest on the same schedule. Everything will be fine. Get it done. So we're going beyond new maps here. Now we're tinkering with the calendar. People are voting. Maybe those votes get thrown out. It's chaos.
I mean, not only is it chaos, but you're literally throwing out votes, as you said. I mean, I watched 60 Minutes with Governor Landry from Louisiana throwing out votes, and he chuckled about it. In South Carolina, people have already voted from overseas, and you chuckle about it. But I want to take a step back and look at this from a 50,000-foot view, to be completely honest. I think Ashley and I have to wrestle with the fact that we are going to be the first generation to actually leave this country worse than the one that we inherited. And I think for Black millennials, the progress that our parents and grandparents gave us, that we're watching being ripped away from us, is something that our generation is going to have to really wrestle with in figuring out how we get out of this conundrum. If somebody fell asleep in 1896 and woke up today in 2026, they would simply say the only difference is now Negroes have a TV show and we wear nice suits. They swapped out Klan hoods for Brooks Brothers suits. And that is.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of my jury, I don't know who watches my show. You know what I'm saying? I don't sit up here and ask you what color you are. Are you black or white or Asian or Jewish or Irish or any ethnic background, right? So this man is telling me, and I'm black, okay? So let's get this racist color thing. But he's telling me that my voice is going to be less heard, less evaluated because you took away a Democratic stance. And I've been listening to my resource real carefully. And it really doesn't sound like my main question is, what voice, what power is technically getting taken away? I would love to really hear that and understand what that sounds like. Tell me, I want to vividly hear what powers are getting taken, or write it down. It doesn't matter. I can read it. But I really would like to know, because I am yet still confused on what exactly we're talking about. Because these people that you see up here on my screen are 100% Democrat. So to say that their voices aren't going to be heard, okay, y'all voice is not going to get heard because y'all have one less department to vote on. Democrat voices are not going to be heard. I can understand that, and I can actually get with that. But to say blacks, that's where I'm still against this race hustling mentality. Okay? I'm against it. It's not cool.
Is the problem. I mean, Plessy v. Ferguson was 7-1, and it gave birth to 50 years of Jim Crow. What we have with this court right now, what we're seeing.
He also not telling you that Jim Crow was funded due to Democratic administration. So an era that we hate so bad was funded and announced through the Democrats. But yet again, I'm not hearing nobody at a Democratic Party want to admit that. Like, you're celebrating the same people who oppressed you.
It is watching people who have fought and died and bled so that we would have access to the ballot box, so that we would have access to our voices being heard.
Okay. So we can have access to the ballot box. Somebody let me know, put it in the chat, where you can't go vote. Now, this the midterms elections going on right now as we speak. Midterm elections, okay? Governor in California, you got different states having things going on right now. So somebody please let me know where there's trouble for a black person to vote. And yes, if I hear any stories of black people having problems to vote because their democratic voice was taken away, I am 100% going to cover it myself.
Heard in Congress being ripped away. And I think that there is a casual laughter from people we believe to be our friends on the right who are showing us true colors today, because the most sacred, or one of the most sacred acts you have in the United States of America, is the ability to cast a ballot and elect someone and send them to Congress, the state house, or a mayoral seat that represents your interest. And now black folks throughout the South are being silenced. And I don't find that to be a laughing matter.
Well,
I found it to be a laughing matter because you're not looking at the statistics of the black people in the South are majority what? Republican, independent, huh? What are blacks majority in the South? What do they vote? So I am suggesting this, y'all. I am really suggesting this. I'm suggesting that we actually have nothing but black people vote. South, East, and so we can understand what they vote. Even though when you elect to vote, we can just go see. Majority Democrats, majority what's called. But yet again, in sectors where they get their voices taken away, I want to see what they majority vote in those regions. And I will look that up and I will have that for you next week.
You know, Scott, I mean, if this were just about partisan gerrymandering, I think that'd be one conversation. But I think part of what's happening right now is that we're in the middle of a political cycle and maps are changing. I was reading an article today about Tennessee, and the lead of the article was two neighbors literally across the street from each other, one white and one black, now in Memphis in different districts. So it's more than just, are we redistricting according to partisanship? It's also, what are we doing in terms of creating a precedent for the use of power across the country in red states and in blue states?
Yeah, it's a good question about redrawing in the middle of an ongoing election. In the case of Louisiana, they didn't have a choice. The Supreme Court said their maps were unconstitutional. They had to redraw it, and so what they chose to do was I think what they'll choose to do is move the House back to the fall, and they'll leave the Senate primary in place, which is actually happening right now. So I get the argument about a little bit of confusion for voters. I mean, around the edges of congressional districts, you're always going to have some areas where one person on one side of the street, one person on the other. I live on the very western edge of a congressional district in Kentucky. In fact, if I might respectfully debate Bakari on this for a moment, to me, I heard you say that people are losing representation. People are losing their voice. No voter has lost their voice at all. No one's been disenfranchised. Every voter in America before these court rulings could go cast a ballot this November, and every voter in America, white, black, or otherwise, can go cast a ballot right now. The lines may be changing, but every voter still has the same amount of voting power.
Pausing because yet again, I want to highlight that every voter before the bill was passed and after the bill was passed still have the ability to go vote.
One vote that they had. It's just that this Supreme Court said your race doesn't necessarily have to dictate your political identity. The fact that you're an American citizen.
Do we really want our race to dictate how we look at society? Is that really how we want? Is that really what we want to do? Is that really okay to have our society say, hey, I need to look at the color of your skin so I can say, do you have the right to vote Democratic or Republican, or for this candidate or for that candidate? Does that make sense to you? That's it, y'all.
And your franchise gives you one vote. That is your political identity. And it is incumbent upon both parties, Republicans and Democrats, to run people who speak not to just one constituency, but all American interests. To me, that's how the November election should be run.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead, Ashley.
I might agree with you if they hadn't said something different 3 years ago. We aren't talking about in Alabama, a district that existed when my grandmother was alive. We're talking about a district that was drawn in 2023 because there are injustices that are still being placed. We're talking about Memphis, where we're not it's not just one person across the street. They split a whole city into three to make Black voters have less power in House maps. The Voting Rights Act, which actually was the last time it actually was reauthorized, was under your boss, George W. Bush. It used to be a bipartisan thing. It used to be clear that the backdrop of this country, there is discrimination now. There was pervasive discrimination when the law was signed into law during the Civil Rights Movement. We can all go into our partisan corners, but to act like what is happening right now is not a direct attack on Black voters' power, Black voters' ability to represent themselves. Now, we had this conversation yesterday, Scott. Black voters are allowed to elect whoever they want. And in 2024, they did. They elected a Black Democrat in that new district in Alabama. That Black Democrat went through a primary of 13 people, and Black voters found the agency to come and decide how that primary now will be erased. And put a Black Republican up in that district if you want Black voters to have a choice. But they're not. That's not what's happening. It is a dissemination, of distribution of Black power. And to call it anything other than that, I just think is being historically ignoring the past of our country and pretending like we're not trying to drive our country to a different type of future.
Ellie.
What I would like to say to what she said is what I have learned, and it's the harsh, but it's the truth, is if you really want representation the way that they be trying to explain it to us, in some of these districts and places and areas where they're talking about, white people are more in the population than Blacks. So therefore you would want representation, where if it's more than one race than the other race, then I guess you would want the race that has the most there, because the reputation would be white people. White people are if black people were more in the South than whites in these sectors, in these divisions, in these divides, I get it. But you're talking about, and yet again, we're talking about race, color, not your actual valid point, not how you want to vote, not about how the candidate ran for its campaign and what they are doing. Notice, like, we're not talking about none of that. We're literally talking about the color of the skin. And who keep bringing this up? Democrats. We're talking about gerrymandering a line to represent the Democrats or the Republicans. We're not talking about gerrymandering a line to represent white people, black people, Asian people, or stuff like that. If we was doing maps like that, I guarantee the map will look very dysfunctional and out of sync. It wouldn't make sense to us. So I don't want to. I know I'm gonna keep covering it, but they really got to do a better job explaining the facts that you're trying to get something done that's technically racist, but yet again, they want to get rid of racism. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. This lady is talking about getting rid of something that her ancestors fought for, but yet again, you're bringing it up because you feel like somebody's taking it away. But you have to admit that nobody's getting that taken away from them.
Ashley just raised an important point, which is that this Supreme Court in 2023 said that Alabama needed to have that second district.
Yep.
And they did so on the basis of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Let me just read a part of the ruling. This was written by the Chief Justice John Roberts. He says, we held over 40 years ago that even Section 1 of the 15th Amendment prohibits only purposeful discrimination. The prior decisions of this court foreclose any argument that Congress may not, pursuant to Section 2 of the 15th Amendment, outlaw voting practices that are discriminatory in effect.
Okay.
Discriminatory in effect. So now they're saying the exact opposite, and they didn't even bother to explain the contradiction in their decision.
Yeah, the whole world of politics and voting is changing really quick, to your point, Bakari. The world is very different now than it was 2 weeks ago because we got the Louisiana decision, which essentially ended the Voting Rights Act. People's heads...
Plessy v. Ferguson,
Right.
just for context, was from where?
Right.
Louisiana.
Okay, and people's heads are spinning because you're Alabama, Louisiana, right, Tennessee,
South Carolina.
Let me give you sort of a universal theory how to make sense of all this craziness. Whether it's good or bad, you all will continue to debate, but I'll tell you how the best I can make of what's happening right now with the law. First of all, it is essentially up to the states. And when I say the states, I mean the legislatures, the voters, governors, the state courts, right? And if a state wants to partisan gerrymander to an extreme, for the most part, they can. If you're California and you're 60-40 Democrat and you want to go all blue, basically you can. If you're Texas, opposite, you want to go all red, you basically can. That's rule number one. Rule number two is every state has its own rules and they vary tremendously. Sometimes it has to go to referendum. Sometimes it has to go to the governor. The states have to follow their own rules. That's Virginia, which did not follow its own rules. That's why Virginia is going to lose their map. And I don't think the Supreme Court's going to intervene. And then point three, and this is what we're all talking about now, is the Supreme Court has changed their position from even a few years ago to where it's now basically, we're not going to police any of this unless there's racial discrimination either way. So you can no longer try to specifically carve out a majority black district or two. And if states have done that, or if people want to say states have done this, this is what's happening in Alabama, in South Carolina, probably in Tennessee. They can say, well, that was a district that we carved out to be specifically majority black. Now we want to undo it. And that's why this is happening day by day, hour by hour. It's a whole new world out there.
One of the interesting...
So, you cannot... I can't argue with that. Who can argue with that? I wish Abby Phillips didn't say nothing. I wish Miss Lady right here and the other guy would have had the comeback. That is the time for the comeback of the comeback. Because what can you say to that? Every state has its own laws and rules of how to gerrymander in the map. So you have to stick with that. You have to do it by law. California did it right. Texas did it right. Right? Right. That's what he said. Virginia did it wrong. Why? Because they brought race into it. Okay? So this black lady or her and the black man or her are doing exactly that. They're bringing race into it instead of saying, hey, the Democratic Party is not being representative. We try to get more seats and chairs the right way, the Democratic way, to hold our democracy. If you people don't pay attention, and now I'm starting to see lately, is that they're trying to overrule democracy. But yet again, they're pointing at the other administration like, hey, that administration over there is overruling democracy. How? We go to rule, we go to court. We win, we win, we lose. Yet again, we do the proper court procedures. But yet again, let some conspiracy theorist person come up here and say, oh yeah, they was getting paid on the table. With what evidence? See, you're going to allegedly just throw that out there just so you can have a fighting argument point instead of going out to just the facts that were presented to us or the fact that we can read. And then they're going to sit up here and say, you can't deny that the government, I can deny that somebody is doing something that I don't see fit. I can deny that. That's easy for me to do. Okay? You guys really got to sit up here and understand it like, yo, we're trying to get to the bag. The more that you say that we're bringing race to something, slows you down. Bro, these people slowing you down. Your Democratic voice is trying to get heard is slowing you down because of arguments like this. This is not an issue that y'all should be worried about. I'm worried about my skin color. What's wrong with your skin color? I think people don't love themselves. If you got to keep bringing up your race and color and black people and my skin and those white people, you don't love yourself. Something wrong. You need to go in the mirror and check yourself out and wonder why you're so afraid that your skin color is a victimized person in society. What victimhood have you been through to where your rights are getting taken away through votes, through women's rights, through gun rights, through all these rights that people want to announce out there? You gotta let me know. You have to let me know, because I'm definitely confused. In other news, y'all. In other news, we still are looking at the lady, also the lady that wanted to step down. They also looking at the governor's race in California and how that's going, where this lady's getting smashed and cremated. Which is definitely getting, you know what? Cremated.
New polling showing political outsider, former reality TV star Spencer Pratt making huge strides.
Look at those numbers. Democratic, independent, Democratic.
in this race for LA mayor, the independent candidate gaining 12 points since March, now trailing Democrat incumbent Karen Bass by single digits. Pratt's campaign in next month's primary gaining traction with voters. He highlights LA's homelessness crisis and failed leadership. He does it very artfully with a ton of social media and some pretty powerful ads, I think, have really helped this race for him quite a bit. Uphill battle in LA, to be sure. Let's bring in Jerry Baker, Wall Street Journal editor at large and Fox News contributor, and Yemisi Egbivole, former chief of staff to Biden White House press office and founder of Podium Strategies. Great to have both of you here. So obviously this.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing, man? How's everything going?
Man, good. Getting these shows back running and popping, baby.
That's good.
But
I'm
right
happy
now
for
we're
you.
talking about the mayor's. I appreciate it. We're talking about the mayor's race that's going over in California. New polling has just came out. As you see right here, Karen Bassett, a black lady who's been the mayor for the last, I think, 4 years.
Okay.
She was a mayor during the last 4 fires and the last couple of crises that's been happening out there in California. Here's a Spencer Pratt is a actor who lives in California, who understands this, you know what I'm saying, what's been going on, been having a pretty good campaign. And then you have Ms. Rahman, who's, as you see, at 19%, who is very, I don't know, she's very distant when it comes to her answers. It's like she seems like a yes ma'am, yes sir type of person that's only here to fit the agenda of a party, not coming very independent, don't have her real own ideas. But the main talk is about these two right here. You have a woman that's been in office for a while who knows what she's doing, compared to somebody who's an actor who's gaining grounds and has a good campaign with the midterms already in place that ends in November. So just to speed everybody up, let you know what we're getting into, and let's keep it going.
Be sure. Let's bring in Jerry Baker, Wall Street Journal editor at large and Fox News contributor, and Yemisi Egbivole, former chief of staff to Biden White House press office and founder of Podium Strategies. Great to have both of you here. So obviously this has Mayor Karen Bass, Jerry, pretty nervous. And let's just pop up these numbers. You've got, for this race, you've got 1.2 Democrats in Los Angeles, 515,000 no party affiliation, and 326 who declare themselves as Republicans in Los Angeles. What are your thoughts on this, Jerry?
What are my thoughts on this? Capiche. That's what she should have said. My thoughts on this is that when you look at this chart, right? This chart looks very even when it comes to campaigning. If you have a good campaigning strategy, it shows me that I don't have to really look towards 326K people are voting against something that they already know that they disagree on, right? I also got 515K. Now that's more where I'm leaning to for my strategy, my campaign. I'm leaning towards those people right there. Because why? Those people are up in the air. They're on the borderline of how they feel about what affects them. You know what I'm saying? Some of them people, I'm going to sit up here and admit, gas prices does affect them. They do not like how the gas prices look. I'm going to say that, okay? But some of those people in this 515K do not care about the gas prices. The gas prices do not affect them. So there are things that are more mid that don't affect each other that I would shoot more towards in this argument. And then, you got the 1.22 million Democrats over here, understanding that the Democratic Party are more upset with themselves. There are arguments amongst each other in the group. If you can just tap into that, which I do think this candidate is doing, this independent young man actor is doing, I feel like he can, gain some ground. Will he win? From what my resources has been telling me, will he win? No. But you know what I'm saying, to put up a hell of a good fight, to make way, to maybe open up people's eyes, I'm for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm down for that. And Democratic, no, let me rephrase that. In California, knowing that most of California's policy actually get legislated into nationwide law, I kind of want to pay attention to that state a little bit more carefully than what I normally would do, understanding those circumstances. Okay. Now that's just me personally and what I see when I look at these numbers. All right. Now I'm just wondering what this overly educated man is going to tell us about these numbers that he's bloody hell says on the screen, mate.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me, Martha. Look, we know Los Angeles is and California in general is heavily, heavily Democratic, as you say. You can see the numbers there. This is an overwhelmingly Democrat-dominated state and city. And to sort of paraphrase what Senator Kennedy was just saying to you, you could put a sort of a dead squirrel as long as it had a D by its name, and it'd probably get elected. But you're seeing something pretty different now with this. It does look like voters are so fed up with the mismanagement and the corruption and the incompetence that we've seen from Democrats in control of California and its cities in the last 10, 20 years. The wildfires, of course, last year, which were greatly exacerbated by poor management, the crime, the homelessness that you talked about. There's a beginnings of a hunger. There's a hunger for change and the beginnings, perhaps, of a radical political revolution. And so Spencer Pratt comes along, this complete outsider, and he has no, he's a Republican, obviously.
That's my question right there. When are we going to be tired of what we see and actually be like, you know what? I'm going to point to my governor. I'm going to point to my mayors, because yet again, the president doesn't have no effect on me when I'm going to go to these people and start complaining, or you can get out of office. When? I think is now. I wanted to say this last night and a couple of nights before. I believe that this divide that people see, this anger, hate, and division among the country, I believe is healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you say that?
Why do I say that? Listen here. We love to love, right? Now listen to my phrase carefully. We love to love, but we also love to hate. I love you so much that sometimes you get on my what? Nerves. I don't want to separate from you. I don't want to leave you, but you're getting on my nerves. So what I mean by this politically is I'm a Democratic person to the day that I die. I'm a Republican to the day that I die. But yet again, the policies and things that happen in my neighborhood is starting to get on my nerves. I really don't want to point at you. So I'm going to point at this other neighbor. I'm going to be a Karen for the moment. But I think that Karen age is over with. I think, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm going to stop pointing the fingers at this neighbor over here, even though this neighbor be helping me. I'm going to actually point the problem. Hey, my governor's really my problem. My mayor's really my problem. This person that I got to represent me is my problem. And that's been the whole talk of today, ladies and gentlemen, is the representation and not looking at the color of your skin and say, hey, my color of my skin is not being represented, because that is wrong. That doesn't make sense. And that doesn't look right politically. To keep crying, I'm not worried about crime. I'm not worried about homeless. I'm not worried about the gas bill. I'm worried about the color of my skin.
Okay, so who's worried about the color of their skin?
Who's worried about the color of their skin? States that are trying to gerrymander in the maps. So that'd be Georgia, Virginia, California, Texas, Louisiana. So yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
basically
hold on.
trying to say that. Go ahead.
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep
Are they
going.
trying to say that
I got it.
that Jim Crow is no longer exists or something like that?
Basically, they're trying to say that we're going to reintroduce gerrymandering in a new era.
I mean, we can't usher in that new era until people from the old era are gone, and that is not happened yet.
That technically has happened.
A new era?
The people that was under the Jim Crow laws, they actually put those laws in place. I don't think those people are alive.
Well, I'm saying people that felt the
I could
effect
be
from it.
wrong.
Yeah, you got people that's in
Yeah,
their 70s and 80s that are still alive who've gone through
70.
segregation.
Say the numbers again. 70s and
70 and
80s that
80s.
are right.
And then we're talking about their children.
Those children
Which,
would be like my mother, my mama
yeah,
named it. Yeah, so she didn't go through it.
yes. They didn't go through it, but they had some of the effects, meaning like they had to been educated on how some people may view them because of their skin color. Why? Because the people who wanted segregation, who may have been fighting against it to not have the Jim Crow, are still alive too. And
But
then you
yet
got
again,
then you got their children. So it's
so hold
so what
on,
I'm saying, go ahead.
hold on. Let's before you go too far, let's you got the first generation and you got my mama generation, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'll say. And then after that generation, then you got the next generation after that. Once you got to my mama generation, she was a kid that maybe felt maybe 5%, 10% of the Jim Crow effect, meaning her parents, you know what I'm saying, may have felt yet again, they had more money back then. They were doing better back then. They were more prosperous back then. Understand this, more prosperous. Marriage rate in the black community was higher back then. Drug abuse in the black community was low back then. So it really like doesn't technically make sense when y'all was more united than we are now today. Yes, black people are way more successful today in America than back then. Way more successful people.
I would say yes, there's more successful people, but the
So
bonding
how
of the
we
community is weakened
so
for sure.
how's we misrepresented? Because that's what this argument is about right here. That's what this was about. Oop, I gotta scoot over.
You said the bond being what you say? Say it again.
I said their argument is that our skin color is not being represented for the simple fact that we are mostly Democratic represented.
Our skin color isn't being represented.
Our skin color. That's that. I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Let me
I
go
mean,
back.
what are
Let me go back. Let
I
me
mean,
finish
we
this. Let me
gotta.
go.
But Justice Sonia Sotomayor joined the court's other two liberals and said that the order was inappropriate and that it will cause confusion as voters head into the polls in the next week's election. The decision hands yet another victory to Republicans just days after Virginia's Supreme Court struck down a measure that would have allowed Democrats to redraw congressional maps in their favor. Virginia Democrats are now asking the Supreme Court to reinstate that map. That seems like a bit of a Hail Mary pass there on the part of Virginia Democrats. But the broader issue is that, especially when you look at what's happening in Alabama, there's already voting underway in that state. They are planning to toss out that map, go with a new map that favors Republicans, eliminates a district. And then you have the President Trump, sending a message to South Carolina, your home state, Bakari, saying the South Carolina State Senate has a big vote tomorrow on redistricting. He says, Republicans, be bold and courageous, just like the Republicans of the great state of Tennessee were last week. Move the U.S. House primaries to August. Leave the rest on the same schedule. Everything will be fine. Get it done. So we're going beyond new maps here. Now we're tinkering with the calendar. People are voting. Maybe those votes get thrown out. It's chaos.
I mean, not only is it chaos, but you're literally throwing out votes, as you said. I mean, I watched 60 Minutes with Governor Landry from Louisiana throwing out votes, and he chuckled about it. In South Carolina, people have already voted from overseas, and you chuckle about it. But I want to take a step back and look at this from a 50,000-foot view, to be completely honest. I think Ashley and I have to wrestle with the fact that we are going to be the first generation to actually leave this country worse than the one that we inherited. And I think for Black millennials, the progress that our parents and grandparents gave us that we're watching being ripped away from us is something that our generation is going to have to really wrestle with in figuring out how we get out of this conundrum. If somebody fell asleep in 1896 and woke up today in 2026, they would simply say the only difference is now Negroes have a TV show and we wear nice suits. They swapped out Klan hoods for Brooks Brothers suits. And that is the problem. I mean, Plessy v.
Is that the bloody hell problem? Do you agree with that statement?
I agree.
Can you go into deep and explain to me how you agree with that statement?
Well, because there's still Black people are still being, we may not realize it, but they're still being marginalized in certain areas. Like, you have to really say forget. I'm being for real, man. You gotta really say forget your community, in a sense, to even, make it out the community. You gotta say forget them. Sadly. And you gotta sell out in order to make it. You know what I mean? Like, and so, like, oh man, and not even speaking on that, but when we talk about from slavery to now, from slavery to Jim Crow to now, like the Black community need to heal, man. Like, I'm for real. We gotta heal, man, and they gotta heal from we gotta heal.
Well, the reason
Let me
I'm
go
laughing.
ahead. Go ahead, brother.
The reason I'm laughing because of the simple fact that from slavery to Jim Crow to now has been one of the best walks of life in the Black community in any country in the world. You can't name another country where Black people are striving and doing whatever they want to do. Okay? There's not a white person on this planet in United States of America that can tell a Black person in United States of America what the hell to do without getting smacked up, punched, or shot. Okay? That sounds like me freedom. Okay? That's freedom. Because back in the day, a white person could tell a black person, hey, don't drink from there. Don't go there. Don't do nothing. And we're talking about simply representing in maps where now, with how elections are going, how people are thinking, there are way more independent blacks that are not really being accounted for than you got your little Democratic Party over there. And I'm not talking you Pacific, I'm just talking about for people that are watching in general. The independent people are growing more rapidly than any other time in history, because yet again, people do not want to be part of any party at all. Let's keep that real for right there. But yet again, let's stick on the fact that we're talking about representing in the black community, because yet again, we are getting what? Discriminated, picked on, bullied. Notice how I named any of those three, and none of those threes are anything that's happening in the black community. Now, you saying that we need to heal. Damn it, we need to get away from each other for a second so we can get our thoughts together. But we can't keep doing that if we're going to put out slandering things on social media talking about, hey, there's a black woman talking about she wanted to kill her boyfriend, her sister's boyfriend, just because he's white. But if that was reversed and there was a white girl saying that about a black person, it'd been outraged. Black Lives Matter has been knocking at her door. So when you really think about what you're saying and healing, nah, black people need to stop being racist just because another race was that first.
Again, like, these are some of the remarks that you're going to see from a group of individuals who have been marginalized for a very long time, right? If you were to have a dog, if we were to look at the black community and look at it as a dog that was surviving from an abusive environment, an abusive home, and you try to take that dog and bring him into a new environment, which is the same home, but say you got different laws under the same individuals who look like the same individuals that oppress them, you got to give that dog some time to adjust. And that's what I mean by some time to heal. Like, can we just breathe? And can we get used to being next to you guys? Can we get used to understanding that we do have some sort of freedom or some sort of empathy from you that that you may feel towards us. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Sorry,
that's what I mean by, you know what
sorry.
I'm saying. Hill, go ahead.
These people stood by your black side and helped vote, helped do the Underground Railroad, helped get legislation. They did a lot of things to help put each other in the order to do what we need to do. No white folks been there. Now, yes, were there discriminating white folks too? Yes, there were discriminating white folks. I don't believe that your white ass over there with those niggas. Yes, there are people like that here in America, but you got to admit they're on the same street, across the street, with the same color as you. There's a black person say, I can't believe your nigga ass over there with them white folks. So it's tit for tat. And yes, them people are still alive. But yet again, you're not going to hear about that until you want to admit the other. If you're going to admit that the white people were bad, which I'm admitting, you heard me admit that they are out here. You got to admit that the black people are out here too. They got the same syndrome.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Now hear me out. The reason why them black people are like that, and the reason why they would make a comment like that, is because of what? All the things that white people has done to our ancestors. That's the only reason why they are saying that.
Okay.
So I'm
That,
not giving
hold on.
them.
Hold on. Let's that is let me say this with you. Let me say this with you. I agree with you on that. That is a fact. But guess what? If you have not went through it, if you don't know what that really truly means, if you only allegedly speculating that experience because yet again you're in your feelings because your boss made a raise their voice at you and he's so happy to be white, or you've been there for a year and you think you deserve a raise and you didn't get it, and the person that's so happen to stopping you is right. Oh, I deserve a raise. Man, I've been at my job for a whole year, ain't missed a day, ain't took a sick day, ain't did nothing wrong. Well, several things I did wrong, but you know what I'm saying? I've been committed. You know what I'm saying? I worked hard. I dedicated every day to my job. Call me on my off days or whatever. I've been there for a year. I got a raise. It's a white man in front of me that's stopping me. Shall I be uproared and be like, oh my gosh, this is depression right here. This is the Jim Crow thing that's going on right here. Huh? Or do I just work hard because I know that's the proper thing to do? What we mean by pulling you up by the bootstraps is work hard, still show dedication, because guess what? Somebody's out there seeing that I work hard. Somebody's out there knows that I come to work every day and do what I have to do and dedicate myself to my job to be a better person. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? That's looking for racism to be an
I
outlet.
totally understand that. Now let's look at the black community as an individual who has been hurt, right? And has gone to the hospital, right? And let's say 50%, let's say they're at 50% healthy, meaning half good, half not good. You know, you representing the half that is good, right? That won't look at, an individual or think that, you're being marginalized because of your color, whatever. We get that, right? But then we got our others who are still hurting that we have to care for. We can't just leave them in the dirt and say, well, it happened years ago. So just get over it, and just give them some oxy, you know what I'm saying? Like we basically treating them like, okay, they're 50% good. So let's just give them some pain meds and send them home. You know what I mean? Like, no, take care of that and take care of that until you're 100% good.
Okay,
And
okay,
when
okay, cool.
you're 100% good, cool, we can erase this thing.
Oh,
But
okay.
we have to understand that these laws were not put in place to uh to make white people more comfortable with us, right? These laws were put in place so that individuals, black individuals, can be comfortable in these environments where they feel protected. And a lot of them still go through some of the residue from what has happened in the past. And we just can't treat them and then just tell them like, hey, you got
Yeah.
to get over that because,
Okay.
we're
So,
talking about someone whose great grandmother
right,
probably
and
still
guess what,
alive,
and
who's,
sir, sir,
who's
sir,
gone through
sir,
some things, who they got to, take care of, who probably
sir.
can't read and write because of whatever may have happened in society. But at the end of the day, we have to look out for them
Okay.
because they
And you
have
know how you
gone
look out
through,
for somebody?
we
Hold
have
on.
gone
I
through
got you.
that.
Hold on.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on. Hold on. I got you. Because I get what you're saying, but you're not
I
thinking
can't hear you.
about, you can't hear me? You can't hear me. Oh my God. What I'm trying to say is, y'all, is you got to understand that you got to deal with Rehab. There are rehab places out here for a person like that. There are rehabs out here for us. Still can't hear me.
I can't hear.
Well, I'm finna wrap it up.
Okay,
There are rehab places out here for us like that. We really got to do what we got to do to make it in society. We don't leave nobody behind, but we can't let those who are injured affect us in society, because those who are injured that are affecting us in society are still they're just a wedge. And I'm going to call it like I said, they are race hustlers, and we don't need that. We got to stop that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, anytime that you are watching this. I appreciate that you're watching this. Today is Politic Day. I salute you. And with that, go vote.
This motherfucker is locked. Talking, I'm in love, but don't make a fuss.